Admiral Coulter stared at the holographic map of the galaxy. Red areas showed where the Drakon Empire had taken over. Green showed what was left of his Voxari alliance. There was too much red and not enough green. "We have lost 3 more systems this month alone," said Commander Zev, his second in command. "Our forces are spread too thin." Coulter closed his eyes. The war had gone on for over 70 years. His people were tired. Their allies were losing hope. The Drakon Empire grew stronger each day while the alliance weakened. "There must be something we haven't tried," Coulter said. His 4-fingered hand moved through the hologram, spinning the galaxy map. "Sir, I may have found something," said a quiet voice. Coulter turned to see Dr. Neri, one of their top researchers. The small blue-skinned alien held an old data crystal. "What is it, Doctor?" "I was searching through ancient records. I found mentions of a species called humans. They were quarantined centuries ago. Their planet was called Earth." "Why were they quarantined?" asked Zev. Dr. Neri looked uncomfortable. "They were considered too violent and unpredictable. The records say they had remarkable skills in warfare, but their aggressive nature made them dangerous." Coulter's interest grew. "What happened to them?" "Their planet suffered a catastrophic war about 300 years ago. It was believed they destroyed themselves. The sector was forbidden and sealed off." Coulter stood straighter. "A warrior species. Perhaps this is what we need against the Drakon." "Sir, surely you're not suggesting," Zev began. "Assemble a team," Coulter ordered. "We will go to this Earth and see if anything remains of these humans." 2 weeks later, the Voxari ship Dawnseeker entered the forbidden sector. Earth was a gray, lifeless ball, wrapped in radiation clouds. Scans showed ruins of once great cities. "Nothing could live here now," said Dr. Lisa Bell, the expedition's xenorchaeologist. Though she looked like the Voxari, her pale purple skin marked her as Triaxian, a species known for their scientific minds. "Our scans detect something," said the ship's pilot. "Deep underground structures that survived the war." The team landed near what was once called North America. Wearing protection suits, they entered the ruins of a military base. They found heavy doors leading underground, sealed tight for centuries. "This writing says Strategic Personnel Reserve." Lisa translated from the human language. "It appears to be a military bunker." When they opened the doors, they found rows upon rows of metal pods. Inside each pod was a frozen human, perfectly preserved. "They were preserving their soldiers," Lisa said with wonder, "in case they were needed again." Coulter walked among the pods, looking at the sleeping humans. They were varied in appearance, but all had a solid build that spoke of strength. Military uniforms and markings showed their status as warriors. "Can they be revived?" he asked. Lisa studied the systems. "The cryogenic technology is surprisingly advanced. The pods are still functioning on backup power. It's possible, yes." Back on the ship, the Alliance Council was outraged when Coulter reported his findings. "You cannot bring these creatures into Alliance space," shouted Councillor Fenn. "They were quarantined for good reason." "We are losing this war," Coulter replied firmly. "The Drakon will show no mercy when they reach our homeworlds. These humans were warriors. They might be our last hope." "It's too dangerous," argued another counselor. "More dangerous than extinction?" Coulter asked. After hours of debate, the council reluctantly approved bringing a small number of humans back for revival. As the Dawnseeker left Earth's orbit with 50 cryopods on board, Lisa Bell looked at the lifeless planet below. "I hope we're doing the right thing," she said. "So do I," replied Coulter. "But right or wrong, we need warriors. And if the records are correct, we just found the best the galaxy has ever seen." The ship jumped into hyperspace, carrying the last of humanity toward a war they never signed up for, but might have been born to fight. Jack Walsh opened his eyes slowly. His vision was blurry. His throat felt dry, like he had swallowed sand. His body ached as if he had run 100 miles. The last thing he remembered was going into the cryopod. There had been warnings about a possible nuclear strike. His SEAL team had been selected for the Strategic Personnel Reserve program. He tried to sit up but couldn't. His muscles wouldn't respond properly. "Take it easy," said a soft voice. "Your body needs time to recover." Jack blinked several times. His vision cleared enough to see who was speaking. He froze. The person, no, not a person, had purple skin and large, almond-shaped eyes. Not human. Jack's training kicked in. Despite his weakness, he pulled himself up and tried to get away from the creature. "Stay back," he warned, his voice rough from disuse. "Please calm down," said the purple being. "My name is Lisa Bell. I'm a xenorchaeologist with the Voxeri Alliance. You're safe." Jack looked around the room. It was like no hospital he had ever seen. Strange machines beeped and hummed. The walls were made of a material he didn't recognize. "Where am I? What year is it?" he demanded. Lisa approached slowly. "You are on the medical ship Dawnseeker. By Earth calendar, it would be the year 2347. Jack felt the room spin. "That's not possible. That's over 300 years. "I'm afraid it's true," Lisa said gently. "Earth suffered a catastrophic nuclear war shortly after you were placed in cryosleep. Most of humanity was lost. The surface is now uninhabitable." Jack closed his eyes. Everyone he knew, his family, friends, his whole world, gone. He took a deep breath and focused, like he'd been trained. Deal with the situation at hand. Process emotions later. "Why wake me up now?" he asked. Before Lisa could answer, the door opened. A tall, thin alien with blue skin and 4 arms entered. Jack tensed again. "I am Admiral Koltar of the Voxeri Alliance," the alien said. "We have revived you because we need your help." Over the next few days, more humans were successfully revived. Samantha Cruz woke up angry and tried to fight the medical staff. Steve Miller was quieter, but watched everything with suspicious eyes. Kevin Harper asked endless questions about the technology around him. Jack became their unofficial leader. He worked with Lisa to learn about the current state of the galaxy. The more he learned, the more he understood their situation. "So this Dracon Empire is taking over everything, and you're losing the war," Jack summarized during a meeting with Koltar. "Yes, they show no mercy to conquered worlds," Koltar said. "We found records suggesting humans were skilled warriors. We hoped you might help us." Samantha Cruz laughed bitterly. "So you woke us up to fight your war. We just lost our entire planet, and everyone we ever knew." "I understand your anger," Koltar said. "But consider this. If the Dracon find the rest of the cryopods on Earth, they will either destroy them or use your people as weapons themselves. You are, as far as we know, the last free humans in the galaxy." That sobered the room. "What exactly do you want from us?" Jack asked. "Training, tactics, your combat experience," Koltar explained. "Your species had a unique approach to warfare that the galaxy hasn't seen in centuries." That night, the 4 humans gathered in their shared quarters to talk privately. "We don't owe these aliens anything," Kevin said. "They admit they quarantined Earth like we were some disease. But they didn't cause the war that destroyed Earth," Steve pointed out. "That was us." "Where else would we go?" Jack asked. "Earth is dead. We're stuck in a galaxy we know nothing about." Samantha paced the room. "I don't trust Admiral Blueskin, but he's right about one thing. If there are more humans in cryosleep, we can't let these Dracon get them." Jack nodded. "So we help them, for now. We learn everything we can about this time, this technology, these aliens, and we find out if there are more of us out there." "For now," Samantha agreed. The next morning, Jack informed Koltar of their decision. "Show us what we're up against," he said. "Then we'll show you how humans fight." The training room buzzed with activity. Samantha Cruz moved like water, flowing around her Voxeri opponent. The alien soldier was twice her size but couldn't land a hit. When the alien lunged forward, Samantha sidestepped, grabbed his arm, and used his momentum to flip him onto his back. The watching aliens murmured in surprise. "Again," she said, helping her opponent up. Across the room, Steve Miller was teaching a group of Alliance soldiers about human weapons tactics. He had set up a simulation of an urban combat zone. "You're thinking too much like soldiers," Steve explained. "Sometimes you need to think like criminals. Use the shadows. Create distractions. Fight dirty." The aliens looked uncomfortable with this advice. Their culture valued honor in battle. But after weeks of getting beaten by the humans in every training exercise, they were starting to listen. Jack Walsh sat with Admiral Coulthard and several Alliance commanders, reviewing battle plans on a large holographic display. "Your fleet formations are too predictable," Jack said. "The Drakon know exactly where to hit you." "These are standard formations used for centuries," protested Commander Zev. "That's the problem," Jack replied. "You haven't adapted. The Drakon have figured out all your moves." Kevin Harper worked alone in a corner, taking apart and reassembling Alliance weapons. He had discovered ways to modify them for greater power, though at the cost of safety features. "These might explode if you use them too long," he warned a curious alien engineer. "But they'll do 3 times the damage before that happens." The engineer looked horrified, but took notes anyway. Lisa Bell watched it all from the observation deck with Admiral Coulthard. "They're remarkable," she said. "In just 3 weeks, they've mastered our technology and are already improving it." Coulthard nodded. "Yes, but they worry me. They're so aggressive. Even friendly conversation becomes a competition for them." "It's how they survived on Earth," Lisa explained. "Their planet had thousands of predators and harsh environments. They evolved to compete and overcome." "The Council is concerned," Coulthard admitted. "Some want the humans put back into cryosleep after the war." Lisa frowned. "That would be wrong. They've lost everything. We can't use them and then discard them." Later that day, Jack found Samantha in the ship's viewing area, staring at the stars. "Missing Earth?" he asked. "An Earth that's been dead for centuries," she replied. "Hard to believe we'll never see it again." Jack nodded. "The Admiral says we'll be joining a real combat mission soon. A Drakon scouting party has been spotted near the city system." "Good," Samantha said. "I need to hit something real, not just in training." "We need to be careful," Jack warned. "We're valuable to them now because they're losing. But if they start winning, they might not need us anymore," Samantha finished his thought. "I know. That's why I've been teaching our combat skills to only a few of them. Never everything to any one alien." Jack smiled. "Smart. I've been doing the same with tactics." The ship's alert system suddenly blared. Red lights flashed in the corridors. "All combat personnel to stations," announced a voice. "Drakon vessels detected. This is not a drill." Jack and Samantha ran to the command center. Admiral Coulthard was already there with Kevin and Steve. "Change of plans," the Admiral said. "The Drakon aren't just in city. They're here now. 3 warships. We're outnumbered." "Perfect," said Kevin with a grim smile. "Time to test my modifications in real combat." "What's the plan?" Jack asked. "Standard defensive formation," Commander Zev began. "No," Jack interrupted. "That's exactly what they expect. We need to surprise them." He pointed to the holographic display showing the approaching Drakon ships. "Let us show you how humans fight when backed into a corner." The Voxeri officers looked at each other nervously. Then Admiral Coulthard nodded. "Show us." The battle was over in 20 minutes. The 3 Drakon ships had expected an easy victory against the single Alliance vessel. They weren't prepared for what happened instead. Following Jack's plan, the Alliance ship had shut down all systems and drifted, appearing damaged. When the Drakon ships came closer to capture it, small fighter pods carrying humans and Alliance soldiers launched silently from hidden bays. Kevin's modified weapons cut through the Drakon shields like they weren't there. Samantha led one boarding team while Steve led another. Jack coordinated from the command center with Admiral Coulthard. Boarding Team 1 has reached the engine room, Samantha reported over the comm. Placing charges now. Team 2 has the bridge. Steve's voice came through. Heavy resistance, but we're holding. When the boarding teams returned and the charges detonated, 2 Drakon ships exploded. The third managed to escape, but not before the humans downloaded its data core. In the aftermath, the Alliance crew looked at the humans with new eyes. Part respect, part fear. That was not a standard military operation, Coulthard said as they reviewed the mission. Boarding enemy vessels is considered too risky in modern space warfare. Sometimes the risky move is the one your enemy won't expect, Jack explained. Word of the victory spread quickly through the Alliance. Soon, the Dawnseeker received orders to return to Alliance headquarters. The human soldiers were to be presented to the High Council. The night before they arrived, Lisa found Jack in the ship's garden area. You should be celebrating with the others, she said. Jack shook his head. I'm worried about what happens next. The Alliance just realized what we can do for them. I don't think they're going to let us go back to sleep. Lisa sat beside him. Would you want to? Go back to cryosleep, I mean. I don't know, Jack admitted. There's nothing to go back to on Earth, but I don't know if we have a place here either. Lisa hesitated, then placed her hand on his. Though her skin was purple, her hand felt warm like a human's. I think you do have a place here, she said softly. Jack looked at her, surprised by the gesture and the feelings it stirred in him. Their moment was interrupted when Kevin Harper burst in. You need to see this, he said urgently. In Kevin's quarters, a small device projected data stolen from the Drakon ship. I've been decoding it, Kevin explained. Most of it is standard military stuff. But I found this. The projection showed images of Earth, recent ones. Drakon ships orbited the dead planet. They were digging at the same military base where the Alliance had found the cryopods. They know about us, Kevin said. They're looking for more humans. Jack's face hardened. We need to tell the Admiral. There's more, Kevin said. I found older files from before the war that destroyed Earth. References to Alliance ships visiting Earth centuries ago. That's impossible, Lisa said. First contact with humans was never established. Earth was quarantined from a distance. These files suggest otherwise, Kevin insisted. Something doesn't add up about how Earth ended up destroyed. The next day, they arrived at Alliance headquarters, a massive space station orbiting a blue gas giant. The station housed representatives from all 27 species in the Voxuri Alliance. The humans were given special quarters and told to prepare for the council meeting the next day. We should keep what we found to ourselves for now, Jack told the others in their private meeting. We need more information before we make accusations. I don't like being used, Samantha said. If they had something to do with Earth's destruction. We'll find out the truth, Jack promised. But right now, we need the Alliance as much as they need us. That night, Alliance scientists arrived with news. More cryopods had been recovered from Earth. A new human was being revived. An intelligence specialist named Maria Diaz. Maria Diaz had been an intelligence analyst with the CIA before being selected for the cryogenic program. She was small, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Within days of her revival, she had learned the Alliance computer systems better than many who had used them for years. The council meeting is about to start, Jack told the human team as they gathered in their quarters. Remember, we're here to make an impression. The future of whatever humans remain may depend on this. The council chamber was huge, with seats for hundreds of representatives. The 5 humans felt tiny as they walked to the center of the room. Thousands of eyes, many not human-like at all, watched their every move. High Chancellor Vex, the head of the council, spoke first. His voice was deep and echoed through the chamber. We have called this meeting to discuss the human situation, he announced. Admiral Coulthard has requested permission to revive more humans from Earth to aid in our war effort. Murmurs filled the room. Not all of them sounded friendly. The humans have proven effective in combat. Koltar said. Their tactical thinking has already led to victories against the Drakon. But at what cost? Asked a counselor with green scales instead of skin. These humans use methods that violate our military codes, boarding enemy ships, modifying weapons to be more deadly but less safe. These are not our ways. Jack stepped forward. With respect, losing isn't your way either, but that's what was happening before we joined your fight. The chamber grew quiet. The Drakon don't follow your military codes, Jack continued. They don't care about honor in battle. They only want to win. Sometimes, to defeat an enemy like that, you need to think differently. And what do you humans want in return for your help? Asked Chancellor Vex. Samantha spoke up. A future. We've lost our world. We want a place for our people. What's left of them? The council debated for hours. Some members supported the humans. Others wanted them put back into cryosleep. In the end, Chancellor Vex made the decision. We will allow more humans to be revived, but with conditions. They will be under Alliance supervision at all times. And after the war, their status will be reconsidered. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough for now. As they left the chamber, Maria pulled Jack aside. While you were in the meeting, I broke into the secure Alliance archives, she whispered. You did what? Jack hissed. Relax, they didn't catch me, Maria said. But I found something. Those references Kevin discovered about Alliance contact with Earth. They're real. There were secret missions to Earth over 300 years ago. So the Alliance knew about us before the war that destroyed Earth. More than knew about us, Maria said grimly. There are classified reports about Earth's rapid military advancement being a galactic threat. Some Alliance officials were very worried about humans expanding into space. Jack felt cold. Are you saying? I don't have enough evidence yet. Maria cut him off. But I'm going to keep digging. 2 weeks later, the humans led their first major offensive against a Drakon stronghold. 3 Alliance cruisers, with human tactical teams on each, attacked the Drakon base orbiting a mining colony. Steve Miller commanded one team. Their cruiser took heavy damage in the initial exchange. We're losing shield power, the Alliance captain reported. Redirect all power to forward shields and weapons, Steve ordered. Then take us straight at their command station. That's suicide, the captain protested. It's what they won't expect, Steve said firmly. The cruiser plowed forward, absorbing devastating hits, but their concentrated fire broke through the Drakon defenses. Steve's modified torpedoes hit the command station's reactor. The explosion took out half the Drakon fleet. The remaining ships retreated. But Steve's cruiser had sustained too much damage. Emergency systems failed. Get to the escape pods, Steve told his team as fires broke out on the bridge. He stayed behind, making sure everyone else escaped before the ship exploded. When news reached Alliance headquarters, Steve Miller was declared a hero across Alliance space. The first human to die in the Galactic War had shown a sacrifice that inspired even the most doubtful aliens. Jack stood at the memorial service, his face hard. Now we know the cost, he said quietly. Let's make sure it's worth it. 3 months after Steve's death, the Alliance had gained ground against the Drakon Empire. More human soldiers had been revived, now numbering almost 100. Each ship in the Alliance fleet had human tactical advisors. The tide of the war was slowly turning. Jack had been promoted to strategic command, the first human to hold such a high position. He stood in the war room with Admiral Koltar, planning their next move. The Drakon main fleet has pulled back to these 3 systems, Jack said, pointing to the holographic map. They're regrouping. A good time to press our advantage, Koltar suggested. Jack shook his head. It could be a trap. The Drakon aren't stupid. They've adapted to some of our tactics already. In another part of the station, Maria Diaz sat in her quarters with Samantha and Kevin. The walls were covered with data screens showing bits of information she had gathered. I've collected enough evidence, Maria said. I'm certain now. The Alliance, or at least some powerful members, were involved in Earth's destruction. How? Samantha asked, her voice tight with anger. Maria pointed to various screens. 300 years ago, human space exploration was advancing rapidly. We had colonies on Mars and were developing faster than light travel. The Alliance noticed us and sent scout ships. Kevin leaned forward. And they didn't like what they saw. Exactly, Maria continued. Internal reports classified humans as dangerously adaptable and inherently aggressive. Some Alliance factions feared we would expand too quickly and become a threat. They debated contacting us officially or quarantining our system. But someone decided to take more direct action. Samantha guessed. Maria nodded grimly. A classified operation called Firebreak involved planting advanced weapons technology on Earth, knowing how humans would use it against each other. They wanted us to destroy ourselves before we reached the stars. The room fell silent as the three humans absorbed this information. We need to tell Jack, Kevin said finally. But before they could leave, an alarm sounded throughout the station. Red emergency lights flashed in the corridors. All personnel to battle stations, announced the station's computer. Drakon fleet approaching. This is not a drill. Jack rushed from the war room to the command center. The main viewer showed dozens of Drakon warships emerging from hyperspace. How did they find headquarters? Koltar demanded. Unknown, sir, said an Alliance officer. They must have tracked one of our ships. Jack's mind raced. We need to evacuate the station. Get all essential personnel and data onto escape vessels. What about the archives? Lisa asked as she joined them. If the Drakon capture our historical records, they'll learn everything about Earth and the remaining cryopods. Jack finished. I'll go with a team to secure the archives. Samantha, Kevin, and Maria found Jack as he prepared to leave. We need to talk, Maria said urgently. It's about Earth. Later, Jack cut her off. Right now, we need to protect the archives. The Drakon can't get that information. That's what we're trying to tell you, Kevin insisted. The archives contain proof that the Alliance helped cause Earth's destruction. Jack froze. You're sure? Positive, Maria said. Operation Firebreak. It's all documented. Jack's expression hardened. He turned to Lisa. Did you know about this? She looked shocked. No, I swear. This is the first I've heard of it. Explosions rocked the station as Drakon ships began their attack. We still need those archives, Jack decided. But now for our sake, not theirs. The five of them, Jack, Samantha, Kevin, Maria, and Lisa, fought their way to the archive level. The station was in chaos, with Alliance personnel running to escape pods. They reached the archive doors just as a blast tore through a nearby wall. Drakon soldiers in heavy armor poured through the breach. Get inside, Jack shouted, firing his weapon to cover the others. As they sealed the archive doors behind them, Jack knew they were trapped between the truth about their past and enemies determined to control their future. Inside the archives, Maria worked quickly at the main computer terminal while the others prepared defenses. The archive was a vast room filled with data crystals and holographic storage units containing thousands of years of Alliance history. I'm downloading everything about Earth in Operation Firebreak, Maria said. But there's something else here. Something about the Drakon. What about them? Jack asked, setting up a makeshift barrier using tables and storage containers. They've been collecting genetic samples from the human cryopods they found, Maria explained, her eyes wide. They're trying to create their own human soldiers. Why would they do that? Lisa asked. They hate all other species. Because they've seen what we can do, Samantha said grimly. They want our fighting ability under their control. Outside the archive doors, they could hear Drakon soldiers trying to break through. The thick metal was holding for now, but it wouldn't last forever. We need to get this data out, Jack decided, and we need a plan to escape. Kevin, who had been unusually quiet, stepped forward. I might be able to help with that. The others looked at him suspiciously. What do you mean? Jack asked. Kevin took a deep breath. I've been in contact with the Drakon. You what? Samantha raised her weapon at him. Let me explain, Kevin said. Hands up. After we found out what the Alliance did to Earth, I made a private transmission to the Drakon. I thought maybe we were fighting for the wrong side. You betrayed us, Samantha said, her finger on the trigger. I was trying to protect what's left of humanity, Kevin insisted. The Alliance destroyed our world. Why should we help them? Jack stepped between them. Put the gun down, Sam. We need to hear this. Kevin continued. The Drakon commander I contacted agreed to spare any humans who surrender. In return, I told them the location of this station. You led them here, Jack said, his voice dangerously calm. I made a deal to save our people, Kevin argued. The Alliance used us and threw away our entire planet. The Drakon at least want to work with us. As slaves or lab experiments, Maria pointed out. That data I just found shows they're trying to create obedient human clones for their army. Kevin's face fell as he realized his mistake. Before anyone could say more, Admiral Coulter's voice came through their communication devices. All personnel, the station's main reactor has been damaged. Evacuation is mandatory. Repeat, all personnel must evacuate immediately. We're trapped in the archives, Jack responded. Drakon forces outside the door. There's an emergency shuttle bay 1 level below you, Coulter said. If you can reach it, you might escape. Jack looked at the floor plans on a nearby screen. There's a maintenance shaft in the back of the archives. It might get us there. As they prepared to leave, Maria finished her download. Got it all. Everything about Earth, Operation Firebreak, and the Drakon's human experiments. The archive doors began to glow red as the Drakon used cutting tools to break through. Time to go, Jack ordered. They opened the maintenance shaft and climbed down one by one. Kevin went last, pausing at the entrance. Jack, I'm sorry. I thought I was doing the right thing. We'll talk about it later, Jack said coldly. If we survive. They made their way through narrow passages filled with pipes and cables. The station shook with explosions as the battle continued outside. When they reached the emergency shuttle bay, they found it in chaos. Alliance personnel were rushing to the last remaining shuttles. There, Jack pointed to a small transport ship. That's our way out. As they ran toward it, Drakon soldiers burst into the bay from another entrance. Weapons fire filled the air. Get to the ship, Jack shouted, returning fire to cover the others. Samantha, Maria, and Lisa made it aboard. Kevin stopped halfway and looked back at the Drakon soldiers. For a moment, he seemed torn. Then he turned and ran, not toward the ship, but toward the Drakon. Kevin, Jack called. I can fix this, Kevin shouted back. Get out of here. As Jack watched in disbelief, Kevin disappeared into the crowd of fighting soldiers, heading straight for the Drakon lines. Jack had no time to worry about Kevin. The Drakon soldiers were closing in. Jack, come on, Samantha shouted from the shuttle doorway. With one last look in Kevin's direction, Jack ran to the shuttle. As soon as he was aboard, Samantha sealed the door. Can anyone fly this thing? Jack asked. Lisa moved to the controls. I can. Hold on. The shuttle shot out of the bay just as more explosions rocked the station. Through the viewport, they watched the massive Alliance headquarters break apart in a series of blinding flashes. All those people, Maria whispered. What about Kevin? Samantha asked. Do you think he made it out? Jack's face was grim. I don't know. But right now, we need to focus on staying alive and figuring out what to do next. They escaped into hyperspace just as the station's reactor exploded completely. Lisa set course for a neutral trading outpost where they might blend in while deciding their next move. 3 days later, they sat in a small room at the outpost, reviewing the data Maria had stolen. The Alliance Council didn't all know about Operation Firebreak, Maria explained. It was carried out by a secret group called the Preservation Council. They saw humans as a threat to galactic stability. And now the Alliance is using us as weapons, Samantha said bitterly. What about the Drakon? Jack asked. What else did you find about their human experiments? Maria pulled up more files. They've been collecting DNA from the cryopods they found. They're trying to create enhanced human soldiers loyal only to them. But there's something else. She showed them images of a laboratory deep in Drakon territory. This is their main genetic research facility, and according to these files, it's where they're keeping any intact cryopods they found. Our people, Jack said quietly. How many? At least 200 pods, Maria answered. Jack stood up and paced the small room. We have to destroy that lab and rescue those pods. Against the entire Drakon Empire? Samantha asked. And with the Alliance probably hunting us too now. We don't have a choice, Jack said. Those are the last free humans in the galaxy. Before they could discuss further, their secure communication device activated. A voice came through, weak and filled with static. Jack, it's Kevin. Don't have much time. They gathered around the device. Kevin, where are you? Jack demanded. Inside the Drakon genetic lab, Kevin replied. I convinced them I wanted to help with their human soldier program. But really, I'm going to destroy it. You're going to what? Samantha asked in disbelief. It was the only way to fix my mistake, Kevin explained, his voice fading in and out. I've set explosives throughout the facility. When they go off, all their research will be destroyed. What about the cryopods? Jack asked urgently. Sending coordinates now, Kevin said. Lower level. Heavily guarded. You'll need to move fast after the explosions. The device pinged as it received the data. Kevin, we're coming to get you out, Jack said. There was a long pause before Kevin responded. Too late for that. Guards are coming. Remember me as someone who tried to make things right. The communication cut off. Jack looked at the others. Their faces showed the same determination he felt. I'm sending this data to Admiral Koltar, Jack decided. He didn't know about Operation Firebreak. I believe that now. He deserves to know the truth. And then? Lisa asked. Then we find whatever Alliance ships survived and convince them to help us, Jack said. This isn't about humans versus aliens anymore. It's about stopping both the Drakon and the people who destroyed Earth. 1 week later, a fleet of Alliance ships approached the Drakon genetic laboratory. With Jack leading the mission, they timed their attack to coincide with Kevin's explosions. As the facility erupted in flames, Alliance boarding teams fought their way to the lower levels. They found the cryopods, hundreds of them, each containing a human in frozen sleep. In the command center, they found Kevin. He was badly injured but still alive. You came, he said weakly as Jack knelt beside him. We don't leave our people behind, Jack replied. Not anymore. 6 months later, the war ended. The Drakon Empire, crippled by the destruction of their genetic program and faced with a unified alliance, finally surrendered. On a green planet far from Earth, Jack stood with Lisa, watching as the first human settlement took shape. Nearby, medical teams carefully revived more humans from their centuries-long sleep. What will you tell them? Lisa asked. About Earth. The truth, Jack said. That we lost our first home, but we found a new one. And this time, we're not alone in the universe. In the distance, Admiral Koltar's ship landed, bringing more supplies and news of the Alliance's formal recognition of the human colony.